This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
Welcome back to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. I am here today with my friend Xela Andrews with Spaces in Bloom Design Company, and super excited to have her on the show and talk about what she does. And we're bringing it back to failing in business. So our topic today is going to be centered around failures that ultimately lead to success. But before the show started, we were talking about how on the outside, when somebody sees a business, they usually see the success of the business. Now, they might see things they don't like or, whatever, but they see the success. They don't see the trials or the failures that happened on the way there. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that having a business for 9 years, you've probably had some moments of failure.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
and we still do.
You keep going. But yeah, there's, in 9 years of business, there's definitely been good times, bad times, hard times, easier times. But yeah, it's when you're running a business, you never know. It's going to be crazy.
It's one failure after the next.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay. So I'm an interior designer. So that means that I am all things beautiful in your home, and not just, pillows and all of that kind of stuff, but really how your home functions, how you live in your home. When you work with an interior designer, you really can have it be a better experience in the way you live, because if you're able to share with us what you do on a daily basis, how you live, the kids live, we can really help make all of that flow together and ultimately make your life easier.
Yeah. I was in retail for 20 years. So merchandising and visual piece is something that I have a lot of experience in, a lot of strength in. And I'm also pretty critical, and I have a pretty good eye to go in and go, this doesn't look right. But I'll tell you what, I can't do it at my own house.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I could walk in somewhere else and do it. It's kind of like as a business owner, that's why they hire my team as consultants at Stafford Solutions, because as a business owner, it's really hard to see it, look from the outside in and say, this is what's wrong with your business. When you're on the outside, it's a much easier to see.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how did you get started?
Well, so I have just always had a love for all things home. Just since I was little, I grew up, my dad was actually in construction when I was younger, and my grandpa owned a construction business. And so I was around it growing up a bit. And then as we got older and had kids, and I wanted to have a job that I could still be with my kids, because being a mom's my number one job. And so I wanted to have something that I could do. So I initially just started helping people, just pick out paint colors and all these things. And then as my kids started to get older, I thought, oh, crud, these kids are going to leave me.
Yeah.
And then what? What am I going to do? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to start it, and I'm going to do it. And so, at first, it was really simple jobs, no big deal. But then we started taking on like really big jobs, like a 12,000 square foot house. And we did all of these bathrooms and all these things. And then people started seeing that, oh, I like what you do. I like that style. I like what you're bringing to the table. And so it's evolved over time. But initially, it was just, I got to figure out what I'm going to do when it's time for my next chapter.
Yeah. And how old are your children now?
So my oldest is 24, my daughter is 22, and then my baby is 18, and he just graduated. So I'm literally living in the moment of what I was saying 9 years ago.
What you knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
And where did your son graduate from?
Brentwood High School.
Okay. So I work with the Entrepreneur Innovation Center, and I had 3 interns from Brentwood High School this year in my magazines.
That's awesome.
And they were the loveliest girls. I think the lowest GPA was 4.2.
Yeah.
Super smart. I was so sad to see them go, but so thrilled for them. And then Brentwood Candle Company, Savannah Moss, she's been a guest on here. She was one of my mentees, but she also graduated from Brentwood.
Awesome.
Yeah, recently. So with your son.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does he have plans for next year?
Yeah, he's gonna go to UTK, and so
With half of the rest of Williamson County?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. But we're super excited for him, and it's only 2.5 hours away, and so my mom heart will be okay.
So UTK is 2.5 hours?
It's about 2.5, 3.
I was going to say,
depending.
when I worked for Nike, I had Knoxville in my market, and it was a 3.5 hour drive.
I mean, I did it on Wednesday, and it was 2.5.
Well, maybe, and I drive slow. Yes, I drive
I
really
might
slow.
not drive.
Yeah, I don't drive slow. But I think I just always ran into traffic there.
Yeah.
Or like always was like raining a monsoon every time I drove to and from Knoxville. And I guess if I'm being fair, that's probably to Sevierville, which is another 30 minutes.
That is true.
So 2.5.
You kind of have to go
might be
through
right.
Knoxville to get there. Yeah.
But man, downtown Knoxville in the square is so cute.
It's so great. Yeah. So
we're
you're gonna
have a blast.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So you moved here to Middle Tennessee 4 years ago from Dallas.
From Dallas.
What made you choose Middle Tennessee?
Well, that was actually for my husband for his job. He's in healthcare. So, in Nashville, you're either healthcare, music.
Or car or Nissan or one. Yeah.
So he got offered a job and we were like, Nashville. Like it was never a thought in our brain. I'd never been here. I hadn't thought to come here. And so we came and checked it out and I was like, oh, I could live here. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And you're so happy here now.
We're so
and you guys
happy.
are in Brentwood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So talk to me about when you started your business and we already talked about, we're going to talk about failures. What are some of the milestones that were maybe perceived as a failure in the moment, but actually catapulted you into something different or bigger or better?
For sure. So, I mean, when I'm self-taught designer, so I didn't go to school to do this. I am self-taught. And so when you've got to learn. There's a learning curve there. And so luckily I've been so blessed with the best clients because they have been just so sweet and wonderful with working with me, especially, 9 years ago when I didn't know a lot. But every time there was something that happened, maybe I chose the wrong paint color, not knowing that these other things might affect that. That was on me. I took it and I was like, you know what? Okay, this is college, here. And so I just think one of my favorite quotes is that you don't fail, you learn. And I think that's so true because every time I have failed, I haven't really because I've learned from that and I don't do that ever again. So not that you won't have another failure, but hopefully the goal is to learn from each one of them and become better and better each time.
Not make the same mistake twice. Yeah. And especially you talk about owning it, right? And saying like, hey, this was my mistake. I'm going to own it.
Yep.
And that is so important. I had a business owner that I worked with on a project that I had a meeting with yesterday. And he said, hey, listen, we got to redo this because I made a mistake. I'd love to say it wasn't me. It was this that happened, but it was me. And I'm going to own that. And I have such respect when business owners or businesses, period, say, hey, you know what? This was our bad and we're going to make it right.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk, so amazing that's the lesson you take, right? My team at Stafford Solutions, our motto is to go above and beyond.
Yes.
We under promise and over deliver. That's our commitment.
Yep.
Whatever we tell you we're going to do, we're going to do that. And if you ask for us to do something extra, if we can fit it in the scope of the work, we're going to do it for you.
Yep.
And we're going to deliver better than what you expected. And that's the feedback we get. So we love that. But you have to plan for that.
You do.
Now, one thing I want to talk about that I think is a hot topic that isn't talked about, but is really difficult, particularly when you're offering a new service or a new product or new business, is pricing.
Oh,
because how many mistakes get made when you price something and then you realize you forgot to consider this.
100%.
Talk about some of those or one of those experiences.
Well, so for a couple things. One, interior design pricing is hard because no one tells you what their prices are. Designers keep that really like lock and key. And like, if you're working with us, then we'll tell you how much it's going to cost. And I wish there was a way to get past that. I'm trying to figure out ways to get past that because I do want to be more transparent in that. Yeah. But I mean, there's been times where, I thought, okay, this will be a pretty easy job. And I quote it and here we go. And then it turns out that this particular client is not easy and they want me 24/7 and it's nonstop texting at, 11 p.m. and, all of these things. And it's like, oh, crud, I did not charge enough for this job. In the end, I'm definitely not making any money.
Yeah.
And so over time, I've really learned to watch for signs of that. Not to say that I won't take those clients.
But you know how to price them.
But now I know how to price them and know, okay, you're going to need a little more TLC hand-holding, but you're going to have to pay for that.
There's a bougie upcharge, and you're going to have that applied.
You're going to have it, 100%. And we'll both be happier if you
totally.
do. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is I think sometimes when we're starting out, we undervalue our services almost all the time, right?
Yes.
And then we get in and we learn, oh, I definitely didn't price that right because I'm doing, especially if you have the mentality that you and I both seem to have, which is I'm going to over deliver and I'm going to make it right.
Yep.
So I'm not looking for ways to cut corners. I want to deliver a strong product. I'd rather, I could show you how to do it cheap or I can show you how to do it right. I'm going to do it right.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you give your time, you undervalue your time. So how have you learned, besides identifying the problem children, if you will, or difficult clients,
right?
Which is always the ones that don't want to spend a lot of money,
always,
that are wanting more from you.
Yeah. Well, and with my business, anything that is service related is hard because what you're getting is my time and my brain. Right. And so to
your
put
10,000 hours of expertise.
Yeah. And to put a dollar amount on that. And I will say that because we're women, a lot of times the dollar value is lower. Right. And some of that is ourselves. We say, oh, I don't know if I'm worth that much. I don't know if people would pay this much, where men don't tend to do that as much. But I think over time, I have really realized, no, I am bringing you value. When I promise you that if you get a house that I'm designing, and not to be boasting or anything, but I know what I'm doing. And that's why you want me, because you need help with this. And I promise, everything that I'm seeing in my brain, when you get to the end, you'll be like,
you're going to love it. It's worth every penny.
It's worth it. Yeah. If you could just see it in my brain, you'd be like,
but I can't give you that picture until you pay me.
But you got to pay for it. Yeah.
No, it's so true. And in the consulting work that we do, it's the same thing, right? Because and the team that I have is incredible. And we can go into a business and uncover all the inefficiencies, make them more effective, keep more money in their pocket. And we'll do it in ways that they wouldn't have even considered because they just can't, because they're in the business. They don't know. They don't have the experience, right?
Exactly.
And that from a consulting for marketing and operations, both. One thing we do is we offer, this is kind of crazy that we do this, but we offer when we do a workshop for a business, because typically before we sign a longer term agreement to work with someone for 6+ months, we want to do a 1-day workshop with them because you can learn a lot spending a day with somebody, right?
Oh, you can.
And just like you, we need to know if it's the client that we want to work with long term. We're interviewing them just like they're interviewing us.
Yep.
And my team gives 110%, so they can't get abused. And, we got to make sure it's a really good fit. But one of the things we do is we offer a money back guarantee on that workshop. Wow. So if we don't deliver what we commit to delivering for you, whether it's, let's say it's an operations and we're going to review your operations and we're going to come out with a new org chart and a strategy for the next 5 years. And we're going to come out with your mission, values, and guiding principles. And we're going to have all this stuff at the end. If we don't produce that and you're not happy with it, you don't have to pay us.
Wow.
So it does two things, right? It gives us this, we've got this almost risk-free. How do you say no to that when your business needs something? It's an investment, but if you don't think it's worth it. We've never had someone not pay us. They always say this is way better than anything I ever thought I was going to get.
Yeah.
But you have to get them to invest in it and see that. And that's hard. And it's hard to convey that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You just got to trust that I can get there.
Yep. 100%. That's the key, is trying to get them to realize that when you trust me and let me in to do it, it's going to be so much better. And I'm from clients, that's my favorite thing to hear back from them is at the end, they're like, I could have never dreamt this up in my wildest dreams. I mean, that's the best compliment ever.
Yeah, it feels so good. It's work that just feels really, really good.
Yeah.
So tell me, when somebody comes to you, what's your process? If I were to say, hey, we put a pool in this year, which this is all true, well, last year, and I'm not sure what I want to do out there. I need to figure out how to make it flow. I need help. What would you, what's the process?
So we set up an initial phone call just to kind of say, hey, what is it that you're doing? Price wise, what are you thinking of spending? And that's a big thing. Most people don't know even how much things cost. So we do try to educate a little bit of, okay, the average prices of things. And then just, you know, have you worked with a designer before? Are you familiar with pricing of a designer? A lot of times people are really shocked at the cost. But if you think about how many things we do, it actually is a deal, honestly. So, so we do that. And if we kind of feel like, okay, that's good, then we set up an actual consultation where we go to the home and walk with it and talk with them. And that's really where, and I encourage my clients at that time to really decide too, as I am, is this a good fit? Yeah. You know, because we're going to be spending a whole lot of time together. And if we are not feeling like it's working, it's better just to cut it then.
Decide in the beginning,
And over time, I have learned to watch for signs of that may not be a good fit for me. And I do say, so sorry. But that's not very often. But then from that process, we go into actually putting a proposal together where we're going to let you know, okay, here's costs. This is what it's going to look like. And all of that is actually before we've designed anything. So it's to kind of let them know, hey, here's about what it's going to cost. And then once they agree on that, they've agreed on our design fees, then we start the design process. And that can be, you know, it just all depending on each job. But you know, we really want to listen to you and how you live and how your home functions and what doesn't function so that we can fix it. So
it's a very personalized approach, and it's similar to what we do too. We do typically like a 20-minute phone or Zoom conversation. One of us from the team will a discovery call, and then if that goes well, we'll come in and do it. Usually it's about 90 minutes of a kind of deeper dive discovery, right? And that's all complimentary. And then we'll come back and say, you know, here's our proposal of what we would suggest that you do. And then we get into what the commitment level is based on, you know, what they're looking for. So it's a little bit more lengthy of a process because it's very personalized.
It is. Yeah.
Which means you're getting that special personal touch.
You totally. Well, and with home, and I really tell all my clients this. For me, I realize that like it's a privilege that you are letting me into your home. Your home is your most private space, right? Like it's where you feel safe and great, right? And so I know that bringing me into that space and like trusting me to make it even better for you, that I don't take that lightly. You know, I know that that's an important thing. So that's a really big thing for me.
Told you when you came in, I know we're going to be friends. And I feel the same way when businesses allow my team to come in. It's like, you are letting us become part of your team, right? So tell me about your team.
So my team, so for me, my business has been interesting because we moved here 4 years ago from Texas. I started my business in Texas. So my team is in Texas and I am building here.
Got it.
So it has been, and this would be like one of the hardest things I've had to do, move to Nashville.
I bet. Let's talk about that. What are the challenges that you face? So your team is remote, essentially. It's you, and is anyone else here from your team?
Nope.
Everyone's in Texas. Now, how many people walk me through what your team makeup is?
Well, so I have she's essentially my partner, Laura, and she's in Texas, and she takes care of everything when I'm not there. And then we have a whole bunch of people that actually not everybody lives in Texas because we have people that do all of our, you know, social media.
And, we have people all over these people,
and they're all over the place. And then we have contracted people in Texas that we bring in as needed. And they're the same people because we love them, but they don't work with us every single day. But so when I moved here, I honestly thought that I was just going to move here. I would finish a couple of the jobs that I had left in Texas, and then I would be done. And people in Texas were like, well, can't you just still come here? We don't care if you don't live here. That was kind of surprising to me. I think COVID helped with that.
Yeah.
People were more understanding
Open to
of
remote.
and take a Zoom call and stuff like that. So I have been doing that the whole time that we've lived here. And so I'm getting tired.
I bet you
that.
are.
Yeah, it's a lot. I go to Texas every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And more if I need to. But
it's a whirlwind when you get there because you got to see a lot of places, a lot of people.
Yeah. And I tried to not go for a long amount of time because I still had my son at home.
Right.
And I didn't want to
Senior
miss
year
any of that. Yeah. So that's been hard. And so what I'm really trying to do now is just grow in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I just want to be here, live here, work here, all of it.
So just have kind of a separate location of the organization.
Yep.
Be in Nashville.
Yeah.
Well, there's such a market for it. We're bursting at the seams with folks coming in to see us here.
Yep, for sure.
And there's such an opportunity for you to really sow your roots here in Nashville too.
Yeah.
So what are you doing in Nashville? Are you have clients in Nashville already?
I do have clients in Nashville. Yes.
Good. So you've already been established, started to transition.
Yep. Yep. So we're doing it. I'm still doing Texas though, because I just can't let go. At some point I will.
Yeah.
But so it's been really awesome to do both. And I'm just really trying to the biggest thing that I've had to do is go out and network. And it is not my favorite thing to do. I do great on one-on-one type things, but big group things, they're scary. And so I've had to jump in and do that and go to all the things that I don't really want to go to by myself.
Yeah.
So I've grown a ton in that way too, of just being like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Go meet people.
Got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just part of that do it ugly. Like you just have to do it without wanting to. I don't think I've ever met anyone or interviewed, and I talk to hundreds of business owners every month. I don't think anyone I know has said, I love going into networking events with lots of people. It is my favorite thing to do in the world.
Yep.
Nobody says that.
Nobody does.
Everyone dreads it. I'm going to give you my one tip. I shared it on a podcast before, but when you go to networking events, I think it can be like, okay, how long am I staying? How many people can I talk to? Or you go and you just start talking to the people you already know. It's comfortable.
Yes.
And you get or you're in a conversation with one person or two people perhaps, and you talk for hours with one person, one or two people. And so when I'm coaching business owners, I say, go in with a mission to meet 10 people. And if you don't have an app, I use Popl. I think it's POPL. It's free. That you can have a virtual business card on with a QR code. You have them scan it. It prompts them to put their information in, and then it gives them your information. So what's great about that is if you have a CRM, which I imagine you do have some kind of CRM, and customer relationship management tool, that's what that stands for anyone who doesn't know. Then when you go to put them in your CRM, you have documented what time you met them on what day. So you know where it was. But I have a client who is very nervous going into networking events. And I said, just go in and say, I got to meet 10 people. I got to get 10 people's contact information. And that's it. And then you can leave after you meet 10 people. And if you do that and you go to one networking event a week, that's 40 new contacts you're making every single month that you're adding to your CRM and that you're adding to your portfolio that you might be able to help and get invited to other things too.
Yeah.
So networking is tremendous when you first start a business or relocate a business. It's plugging into the community. Yeah. What have you found that has worked well for you to plug in?
So probably the biggest one that I'm enjoying the most, I joined Brain Trust.
Oh, I've not heard of it. So
really? So it's actually a entrepreneur group and for women. And so it's actually you get put in separate groups, like smaller groups, and they're your group for however long you're in the Brain Trust.
Oh, okay.
And it's to help each other with our businesses, because being an entrepreneur it's a lonely place to be, honestly. And a lot of people don't think that, but it is. And there's not a lot of people you can tell your struggles to, because, you got to make it look like every day is great. And sometimes it's not. And so we have this vault is what it's called. And we meet once a month for 4 hours.
Wow.
It's a commitment. And you have to be there. You can't miss. And it really, we talk about all of our businesses, and we give we give thoughts and, hey, maybe you could try this or that, or it's been actually just incredible for me.
How awesome of a resource. So Brain Trust. I haven't heard of that.
Trust.
We'll have to put it in the show notes and I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you will.
I think every business owner needs other sounding boards.
You do.
And if you don't have a power partner, accountability partner, or coach or whatever, you got to go find it, somewhere.
Yeah, because I don't think you can level up on your own.
You definitely can't.
You need people to tell you, hey, it's time for you to level up.
Yeah.
It's time for you to do this or that. Because a lot of times we tell ourselves, we have that terrible voice in our head that says, you can't do that.
Imposter syndrome. It is
syndrome.
real. It fights you. And usually when you're ready to do something at the next level, it kicks in at a whole different level. And you're so terrified.
Totally.
And one of my clients was going to a networking event and there were over 100 people and she messaged me and was like, I can't do it. I'm just so nervous going in and presenting.
Yeah.
And she's done this before, but it's like, sometimes that just happens. You just freeze and it's really tough. So tell me about another struggle that you've had or another thing that hasn't gone right that you've had to learn from and propel your business forward from.
Oh goodness. I mean, there's tons of things, like it's hard. And, sometimes like working with certain contractors has not been wonderful.
Okay.
So,
tell me, you don't have to name them. Obviously we don't want to shame anybody.
No. But I mean, sometimes there are, one thing that I would say is sometimes contractors, when they find out there's a designer involved, they are not happy about it.
Oh, really? Why? I don't understand why that would be.
Because designers get like this diva type of mentality that people think that we have that.
They think they have that.
They think we do. And I'm sure there's a few that are like that, but the majority of us are actually not. And we actually are we're a lot of the same type of people because we love helping people. We love home, all of those things. And so, but I had this one contractor and the moment I stepped in the driveway to walk up, he was just like, I could see his face like, oh my gosh, I do not want to work with this lady. And I could tell just he had people with him and they just all looked at it. And I just thought, as I'm walking up the driveway, I just thought, okay, I'm going to have to win all these people over right now. Or it's going to be awful working with them. And so I just went up there and I was just like, hey guys, yes, I'm the designer. I promise you I'm not a diva. I was like, I'm just going to call it out. And you're going to love working with me because I'm going to make your life easier. And he was like, we'll see. And by the end of it, he was like, I will do a project with you anytime.
You're on the approved list.
Yeah. But I mean, right at that beginning, it was not. I could tell.
And you have to overcome that perception, not just you, but as business owners, whatever it is, there's a perception that's attached to your title or your business.
Totally.
And you have to overcome that over and over and over again and get used to proving yourself to people. And that is hard. I imagine also coming from outside of Tennessee, it can be very, well, you're not from here, right?
Yes.
People will still say, we've been here almost 10 years. People go, are you from here? I say, well, we've been here 10 years. Oh, so you're not from here.
Yeah.
We've been here 10 years. I mean,
well, and you would think Nashville, there's so many people moving.
Yeah.
So you would think that people would just be like, well, we're welcoming it. But no.
I welcome it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
But there is a old school Nashville that they don't like it.
You're so right. I have two magazines, College Grove Neighbors and Neighbors of Franklin, which I started to bring the community together to highlight local business owners, connect to the community, highlight stories. And when we first launched the first edition of College Grove Neighbors, now my team and I poured our heart into this, right? Like we get the family, we have all the stories. I mean, we have worked countless hours to put it together and make it beautiful and serve the community. It's free to the community, sponsored by local business owners. And we got a couple of emails, and actually my phone number was in the first edition and I took it out after that.
Never again.
I was like, you know what? Nobody needs to call me.
Yeah.
But we got a couple of emails and my content coordinator at the time would like go track who this was. Like, I'm going to go find who this person is on Facebook. And it was like we don't want this magazine. We don't want growth. We don't want businesses.
Wow.
We want the old College Grove back. Stop publishing this magazine and highlighting business owners. This is farmland.
Wow.
You know, we got a few of those.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow, this is really sad
Yeah.
that people think this way. And I get that it's like we want to protect our space and what we know. And there's a happy medium there.
There is.
But we got a lot of that. And occasionally we'll still get somebody that, you know, is upset about the fact that we're encouraging growth in the community. But you have to just kind of, well, you know, you're welcome to your perspective. It's still going to happen whether you don't want it to or not, or whether you want it to or not. But you have to kind of deal with that on your own. So, but you're constantly having to kind of justify what you're doing and explain what you're doing to people. And I do think that's a skill as an entrepreneur. You eventually, 9 years in business, right? You eventually develop, I don't want to say thick skin, but
a little bit
more tolerance of, you know, it's okay that you don't like me. I'm not here to make everybody like me. That's not actually my job.
Yeah.
If you do, that's great. But if we're not a good fit, that's also okay too.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning of entrepreneurship, and honestly, just growing up, just the beginning of your adulthood, it's hard to accept that there will be people that don't like you.
Yeah.
You just, you know, some people don't like chocolate.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to like you.
100%. Well, and I've realized over time that, you know, the people that didn't want to work with me, or it was a no, or, you know, whatever happened, it was probably in my best interest in the end.
Yeah.
You know, I think those are little tender mercies that come from God saying, you know what, you don't need this.
I'm going to intervene right here.
Let's just shut that down. And so, you know, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
But accepting that your job is not to be liked.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that, like going through that transition? I don't know that I can like pinpoint when I accepted, like, man, people just aren't going to like me. I'm sorry you feel that way. But, you know, I'm pretty confident in my heart and in my decisions that I make. And like, if it's not for you, that's okay.
Yeah. I think, well, you know, I think I have good days and bad days of that. I think, you know, sometimes I'm like, I don't care, whatever. And other times I'm like, just like me, for heaven's sakes, you know? So I think that's evolving and stuff. But I do think that, especially like doing interior design, you know, like when I'm presenting ideas to clients, I'm always telling them, tell me your true feelings on this.
Yeah.
You know, don't sugarcoat it for me. Don't say, oh, I think I like it, because this is for you. So you have to be honest with me and tell me. Otherwise, I don't know what direction to go. And so I have kind of tried to take that same feeling, because it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
It's just, this isn't right for you.
Right.
And that's okay. And so I've tried to kind of take that type of same approach in my life and just be like, you know what? They're just not for me. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And reminding yourself of that, I think, is important, of recognizing that emotion when you feel it, of, oh, I'm feeling hurt or disappointed or discouraged, however you want to classify it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not being accepted, and everybody wants to be accepted, and everybody does want to feel like they're liked and a part of something.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to acknowledge, I'm having this feeling, and I'm having that feeling because of an internal desire to be liked, not because this person actually is important for me to have like me. It's just this internal feeling. And so I need to separate that and focus on, this situation is something I just need to move away from.
Yeah.
And go work on being more comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think does hold a lot of young entrepreneurs back, because they're afraid to put themselves out there because they're afraid to evoke that emotion.
Well, especially because we live in this world of Facebook and Instagram, and where everything is a like, there's an actual like button, you know? And so I think a lot of, especially younger people, but I think even people our age, have decided like, oh, well, that's my value is based on these likes. And you really can't think that, you know, like you really just have to know, I have value, what I'm doing has value, and, you know, the right people are going to find you, and those will be your people. And that the rest doesn't matter. And
I think that really has to be, you have to have a faith that roots you in that, because I don't know how else you could do it if you don't have faith to say, I'm just living out God's purpose for me. and I'm perfectly imperfect the way that I have been made. And so I'm here to serve other people in my best capacity. And he's going to remove people that don't have a place in my life or opportunities that aren't the right fit. And everything that you don't, every job you don't get, every customer that says no to you, or prospect that says no, or every client you don't land, there's a reason for that. And there's always a lesson to be learned in it. But it's hard sometimes to accept it in the moment.
I mean, if we could have like a looking glass to see what that would really have looked like if we'd gone this way or that way, you know, like that would be amazing. But we do just have to have faith. And, you know, I've heard lots of different podcasts of people talk about businesses, and, you know, it's not very many businesses that really blow up in the first 5 years, 10, you know. It takes a long time, and it's because you do have to learn all of the things along the way, and you have to trust your instincts. You have to trust that, you know, whatever you're doing, God has a plan for it, and he's going to put you in the right direction. And, you know, I think that's why as we get older, we understand that more, you know, because we've lived some life and we know not everything is what we think it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. You know, that if we could really see what's happening with what's being made for us, you know, I think we'd be like, oh, I should just relax. But we don't. We're like, oh no, I have to help. I have to figure this out. You know,
like,
so
just let it go.
Just let it go.
God be in control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. We look back and it's like, oh, that's why that happened. That's why I had to go through that so that I could be prepared, you know, for this.
Yeah.
And I think back to so many jobs that I had, so many opportunities that I went through, and roles that I played, experiences that I had, that I encounter situations every day in what I do now and at Stafford Solutions. And it's like, oh, if I hadn't done that, there's no way I'd be ready to tackle this opportunity that's coming to us. I wouldn't have been prepared for that.
Yep.
And my team, you know, we talk about that as a collective, that we've all been through different things. So we are equipped to do these other things.
Yeah. And it gives you the confidence to do them, because if you hadn't been through all this other stuff, you wouldn't have the confidence to keep going and doing.
Right. And that's what I try to continue to share with young entrepreneurs is you're getting prepared to do that. So businesses, if you are wildly successful in year one of your first business, you wouldn't be equipped to handle the growth because you haven't had the challenges that it takes to be able to handle those things. And John, one of the consultants I work with, he's been on my podcast too. And he works with us at Stafford Solutions. He's phenomenal, super intelligent. And he says there is no crisis. That's his philosophy. And, you know, in business, if you actually take that approach, when you're young in business, you think, oh, customers upset. Everything's, oh my gosh, the world is going to fall over. Yeah. You know, and I think there's a good health to that also. At Stafford Solutions, our clients' needs are very urgent for us. And we've been told like, wow, you guys act really fast. Like there's something that we want to do. And we're like, all right, we're starting it like now. We're going to take action. And that's important to me. Urgency is important to our company. But efficiency, effectiveness are two of our key priorities. But when I think about that, is a good thing to have a sense of urgency, that everything needs to be addressed quickly. And I don't think our young culture today operates that way. Yeah. It has to be taught to them because it's like just a different culture, and we could probably go off for another hour on that topic.
We could.
But it's that nothing is urgent, but it is important. Yeah. And there's a difference there. But the sense of urgency is something I just think you start to accept. Well, there are certain things that have to be addressed quickly, but then there's also like, your fire does not mean I have to put it out. Just because you're upset about something does not mean that my day has to stop.
Yep.
And I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb, which everyone who is in my life knows that. There are certain people that can get through at any time. And people that know that know, I'll just call you twice when I really need you. And you're going to answer because it will ring.
Yeah.
But when I think about part of the reason I do that as a business owner is my schedule, what I'm doing is what's most important right now for my life and my day. And unless you're my kids or my husband or my grandmother or my parents or my executive assistant, your urgent is not my urgent. Yes. And so even if you think it's like dire, it's probably not. And you know what I find most of the time? by the time you get back, they've figured it out.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't need you anymore. I got it.
I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Well, and especially like with interior design, I have to sometimes remind people that like these are first world problems, guys.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to decide between marble and granite, and that's an emergency. It's not an emergency. I know it's important, and we will figure it out and find what's best for you, but there's a lot of other things that are much harder. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's a funny world. So this whole sense of urgency thing and work ethic in our younger generation is kind of mind-blowing to see how the difference in probably how you and I grew up with that work ethic and what I see now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old, and they've both graduated from college. And so they're in the working world. And they're my kids, so I'm going to say they're great. But, like I see their friends and I see other people and I see what other people their age say to my kids, because my kids they have great jobs and they are doing great things. And so, but there's lots of people who are like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go travel abroad and I'm going to rack up all this debt and do all this stuff. And they aren't like ready to like really go in and not only just go in, but like work your butt off.
Yeah.
Because you can't have success. Nobody hands you success. Nobody does. It is something that you work your tail off for, like it's those really late nights, those really early mornings, the doing all the things that you don't really want to do. I mean, when I first started this, all of the install days was me and Laura carrying all the stuff in the Texas heat, sweating.
Yeah.
We're so glamorous. Look at us, interior designers.
We're so diva-ish.
But it was us. I mean, trying to move a carpet with the sofa on it. And I mean, if there was video for you all to see, you would be like, holy cow, that's hilarious. But, now, and we would say someday we will have a team to do this. Someday we will just say, put it here, put it there. And like, we're at someday.
Yeah.
But
and you turn around and you're like, how did I get here?
How did I get here?
I was too busy moving sofas and carpets. I didn't even know that I got here.
Yeah.
That's how it happens, though.
But that's what you do. You do all the hard crap so that way you can enjoy it later. And you'll be nice to those people, hopefully, that are moving the crap for you because you're like, Thank you. I didn't have to lift that sofa today. And that made me happy.
I know. I texted one of my assistants today and I have a couple personal assistants and she was going to be there this morning. We had some mishap with some contractors, but she was going to be there this morning to meet one of them and they got in an accident. So it just, she's got a baby, she's got 4 kids. I mean, her, throws everything off. Right.
Yeah.
And, I just said, I just thank you for everything that you do for me. And she said, you're going to make me cry. I don't feel like I do enough. And I was like, you have no idea how much you take off my plate.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And it's so important to remember that and to appreciate that you did that. And I think you have a different level of appreciation when you have been the one to do it.
Totally.
And as a business owner, when you start, you are wearing all the hats usually for quite some time.
Yeah. You can't afford to.
Yeah. There's no money.
There's no money to give to anybody. So you're like, okay, we're doing it all.
Yeah.
And when you do finally get to the point where you have some money to pay other people to do things, it's incredible. And you are like, I am so grateful, like just so, so grateful. And just like also proud, that like, look what we've done over 9 years and the amount of projects that we've done and the people whose homes we've done, those people become really dear friends of ours because you're taking them through this whole process. And it's usually a lot of months together doing it. And, you're making really wonderful friendships through it, which is wonderful.
And over 9 years that what you look at, the other piece that I always find that I'm super grateful for is that I get to be a who for, I love the book Who Not How.
Oh, I do too.
Dan Sullivan, Benjamin Hardy are amazing. See, I knew we were going to be friends. But to be the who for someone else and you're like, I'm able to support their family through their role here. And even something as small as someone that works very part-time, you're filling a need for that person.
Yeah.
And it's just such a really cool feeling that also comes with a lot of responsibility.
It does. Yeah.
There's a lot of,
you feel the weight.
Feel the weight. Yeah. You feel the weight for sure.
Yep.
Well, I know we're out of time, but I want you to tell everybody, where can we find you?
So you can find me on my website at spacesinbloomdesigns.com, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook under the same name, Spaces in Bloom Designs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us. It was great to have you on. I can't wait to see some of your spaces, and hopefully we can link all that in the show notes and maybe even show some spaces on the videos here. Listeners, watchers, thank you. Watchers, is that a word? Yeah. Viewers, right? That's right. It's been a long day already. Yeah. Listeners, viewers, thank you for tuning in to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. If you found value in this, I would ask that you share it, like it, rate, review, and comment.